just when you thought it was safe to check out for the holidays, the debt ceiling shows up, and the government is once again in crisis. If lawmakers cannot come up with a deal by Saturday, the U.S. will default on its debts and parts of the government will shut down. Now, that sounds really bad. But how bad exactly is it? Like, what happens if the U.S. actually hits the debt ceiling and defaults on its debt? There are three main things that happen if the U.S. defaults on its debt. So the first thing that happens is the government just can't pay its immediate bills. And there's the real possibility that a lot of government workers would just stop getting paid. They would have to go home and parts of the government would shut down. That's what would happen immediately. Now, on a more macroeconomic level, it would mean that the U.S. would default on some of its debts. So different lenders that it owes money to, it just wouldn't be able to pay them back. Now, the U.S. owes a lot of money. It owes $35 trillion. And that debt comes with interest payments, just like it would if you or I bought something on a credit card and owed that money, we'd have to pay interest payments. So the U.S. right now pays about $1 billion a year in interest payments. That is the size of the defense budget. Now, and of course, that is $1 billion a year that the U.S. cannot spend on other things. It can't spend it on schools or roads or growing the economy. It just has to spend it servicing the debt. Now, if we default on the debt, if we hit the debt ceiling, those payments are going to get a lot bigger. Kind of like if you or I miss a credit card payment, suddenly the interest rate on our credit card might go way up. We would be seen as a riskier bet. Well, the same thing happens if a government defaults on its debt. People get more nervous about lending that government money, so they demand a higher interest rate. And that could mean that even more of our budget would go to interest rate payments. Now, a lot of countries have defaulted on their debt, and they're still here. Argentina, Greece, Iceland have all defaulted on their debt. But the U.S. is a little different. The U.S. is the largest economy in the world. The U.S. is also involved in a lot of international deals. And so if the U.S. defaulted on its debt, it would be destabilizing to the global economy in a big way. If the U.S. is suddenly seen as risky and not able to pay its bills, that would have global implications. Countries all over the world own U.S. debt. All of those countries would suddenly be worried that they were not going to get paid back. Lending the U.S. money is seen as extremely safe, almost like stuffing it under your mattress. So a lot of countries own a lot of U.S. debt. They see it as a very safe place to put their money. If all of a sudden owning U.S. debt is seen as risky, that is going to cause a major panic for a lot of countries that own billions of dollars in U.S. debt. That would certainly cause markets all over the world to crash and potentially cause crises in countries like China and Japan, which own a lot of U.S. debt. So here's hoping lawmakers can get it together and make a deal today. It would be the best gift they could give the U.S. economy.